Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Yuna and I hope that you and yours are doing as well as can be and are taking care of yourselves and each other. Alright, before we get into the actual meat of the video, I just have to take a second and say thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. 10,000 is crazy. I can't believe that there are 10,000 of you little freaks listening to me yap about books every week. When I started this channel back in January, I remember telling my friends and family that if I could hit 1,000 subscribers in a year, I would be really proud of myself. So the fact that we have made it to 10,000 in, half that time, I'm just like flabbergasted. I'm shocked and really happy. This channel has been a lot of work and a lot of fun, but definitely a lot of freaking work. But thank you so much. I'm really just so grateful, and it can feel really freaking weird like putting yourself on the internet for people to see, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, none of this freaking matters. I'm gonna be dead so soon and none of it's gonna matter. So while I have the time and the energy, I'm just like really glad to be doing this. I definitely want to do some sort of like giveaway or something like that, but I haven't decided how I want to format it. I was thinking that since not everyone has Pango, I might do something like if you are the winner of this giveaway or whatever I do, then you can pick a book and I'll purchase it for you and have it shipped to the person. I'm not sure. I have to think about it and figure out how I want to structure that. All I have to say, I'm just really freaking stoked that we've hit 10,000. I really didn't think that it was gonna happen anytime soon, if ever. So I'm just really, really happy. I also have an Instagram that's linked in the description. It's by the same name, and I'm more active on there on the daily. So if you want to chat in DMs or just, I don't know, like interact with me more, then definitely follow me on Instagram. It's, like I said, the same handle, Wild Unicorn. But let's get to the video. So for this month, I have a bunch of queer-centered content that's going to be coming out for Pride. I mean, I talk about queer books and queer authors, I think, all the time, but specifically for Pride, I'm going to have some videos coming out. But today is not that. Today I'm going to be talking about new releases for 2026 that I'm excited for. I admit that I've never really been someone who keeps up with new releases with books. I tend to just kind of stumble upon books whenever I stumble upon them, but now that I started my Instagram and this YouTube channel, I've just been encountering more content about new releases and upcoming drops, so I've become more aware of things that are coming out soon. So today I want to talk about books that dropped either in the first half of 2026 or are going to be dropping soon that I am going to be picking up and am very excited for. A couple of these books I do actually already have. I might do a part 2 of this video where I talk about books that are releasing in like the last third of the year, because I'm pretty sure the last book that I'm going to talk about releases in September. I'm going to go through them by release date because, like I said, some of these books have already dropped. They dropped earlier in the year, but I haven't read them yet, so I still want to give them a shout out. No one come for me. I have talked about several of these books in other videos scattered around, but I wanted to put them all into one concise list talking about the new releases, so hopefully that's helpful if anyone is looking for new books dropping. I've mentioned several times that I am someone who prefers to buy used books. I would say that like 95% of the books that I have in my collection are used books. They were purchased secondhand, but if you have authors who you are trying to support, then I know that pre-sale numbers are really important. So if there's an author that you really want to support and they haven't dropped their books yet, then doing a pre-order might be really helpful. There are several books on this list that, again, haven't dropped yet that I have put on pre-order. But let's jump into it. I'm going to start us off with a book that I have mentioned several times. Again, nobody come for me. I can't help that I'm so excited about this book, and that book is none other than Seasons of Glass and Iron by Amal El-Mohtar. This book dropped on March 24th of this year, and I'm not going to bore you and repeat myself 1,000 times because, again, I've talked about this book before, but this is a collection of short stories by one of my favorite authors of all time, Amal El-Mohtar, and I am expecting from this book fantasy, magical realism, very descriptive lyrical writing. I'm expecting to be up in my feelings. I'm expecting to meet queer characters. I'm just expecting to be very moved by Amal's ability to craft these beautiful, lush worlds and characters and stories. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. If you haven't picked this up yet, you absolutely should. I haven't even read it yet, but I am that confident I'm going to recommend it anyway. Next is another book that I have talked about. I mentioned it, I think, in part 2 of my ANHPI authors / books videos, and this is Honey in the Wound by Ji Young-han. This is a debut novel and it dropped on April 7th, so it has already released, so you can pick it up if you want to. My copy is on the way to me. I actually did have a copy. I had the US cover version of it, and I ended up selling that and buying the UK version because I like the UK cover better. I'll put a picture somewhere so you can see it. This is a book about a Korean family, or I think more specifically like the women in this Korean family during the Japanese occupation, and they all have some sort of magical powers. I don't know if this leans more fantasy or more magical realism, but either way, the description I was like, give me. A lyrical and suspenseful debut novel about a mysteriously gifted Korean family confronting the brutality of the Japanese Empire. Honey in the Wound is an epic tale of survival and the reclamation of power. A sister disappears and returns as a tiger. A mother's voice compels the truth from any tongue. A granddaughter divines secrets in others' dreams. These women are all of one lineage, a Korean family split across decades and borders by Japanese imperialism. I feel like if this book hits, it could really hit because I love stories. I mean, I love Korean stories, right? I'm Korean. But I also love intergenerational stories. I love family saga. And I love fantasy. I also really enjoy magical realism. So I feel like there's so many different ingredients that are going into this book that could make it scrumptious. And I am really hoping that I love it. Next is another book that dropped in April. This one dropped on April 14th. And I talked about this book in part 1, I think, of my ANHPI authors books video, but this book is The Killing Spell by Shea Kaoe. This is another debut and one that I feel like has so many elements that make it a perfect Yuna book, so I am really looking forward to getting to this. This is another one where it is on the way to me. I ordered it and I'm just like waiting for it to arrive. The Killing Spell is another debut novel, and this is a Hawaiian urban fantasy with a language-based magic system, and I'm a sucker for language. I love languages. I love language-based magic in books, but I also just love the exploration of languages and the cultural power they hold. I think that a language is not just how you communicate, it's how you think about the world, it's how you interact with each other, it's about how you interact with just objects around you. There's just so much power in a language, and so if a book is incorporating language, I'm gonna be reading it. This book takes place in a version of our world where a couple hundred years ago there was this giant flood that flooded and submerged the Hawaiian Islands and released this magic into the world. And now the Hawaiian clans have moved to the mainland and are living, I'm pretty sure, in California on some sort of treaty. The main character in this book is the leader of one of these clans, and she is the youngest leader, and she creates these language-based magic spells and she sells them. But what happens is there is a murder. Someone is killed using one of these language spells, and because she is the one that makes and sells them, people are starting to point fingers to her. So she has to try and clear her name, figure out who actually killed this person, what's going on, all of that. So yeah, like I said, a bunch of elements that I think could make this book a home run for me. We have urban fantasy, love languages. So yes, high hopes for this one. Next is a book that I actually just got yesterday. I bought it off of Pango and it just arrived, and that is The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. This released on May 6th, so it is available if you want to get it, and it is by Fonda Lee, who is the author of the Greenbone Saga, which is one of my favorite series ever. I love the Greenbone Saga so much, and I have had a Greenbone Saga shaped hole in my life since I finished that trilogy, and I'm hoping that I can fill it a little bit with Fonda Lee's new release. This, I believe, has been described as a samurai space opera or something like that, and it follows a samurai named Isako who is a veteran. She's been on a bunch of missions. She is ready to retire, but she has one last job presented to her that she can't refuse, and takes her, I think, on this grand adventure through space. Live by the code, die by the night. On the merciless planet of Aquila, where your job determines your worth, legendary swordswoman Isako commands the highest price, but every legend must come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow and walk into Aquila's frozen wasteland with her head held high and her family enriched by her death. But when she's offered a final mission, she can't refuse, especially when she realizes who lies at its center. As she's thrust into a world of corporate espionage and shadowy secrets, what she uncovers could forever change humanity's existence among the stars. I'm also very curious to get to this book because I have seen some mixed reviews. It's had a mixed reception since its release, and I've seen people, even people who really enjoy Fonda Lee's other books like the Greenbone Saga, say that this wasn't their favorite, or they had issues with the plot or the pacing, so we'll see how I feel about it. But before all that, I just have to say, why are paperbacks so massive nowadays? I got this book and I was like, this is a textbook, like look how big this is, and I don't know why, but the text is also huge, which I don't mind, but is it just me? I miss having like a compact paperback. Like, why are they so freaking massive? I feel like I used to be able to fit paperbacks into my cargo pants pockets, and now like I would need a whole backpack just to take this around. But yeah, whatever. The Last Contract of Isako. If you have read this book, I would love to know what you thought, because like I said, I've heard some people have loved it and I've heard some people who've hated it, so let me know what you thought. I don't know if May 5th is like a popular book drop date, but The Last Contract of Isako was released on May 5th, and the next like 3 or 4 books that I'm going to talk about were also dropped on May 5th. I don't know. The next book that I am eager to get my grubby little fingers on is The Young Will Remember by Eve Chung, also dropped on May 5th. I've never read Eve Chung, but I've seen her other book. It's like the Daughters of Shandong, or like something Shandong, I think, and I've seen people say they really enjoyed that, but I've never read Eve, but I think I will start with this book. And The Young Will Remember is about a news correspondent, a Chinese news correspondent, who is covering the Korean War and ends up trapped behind enemy lines in North Korea. This correspondent, her name is Ellie, she is aided by different women, I think, who help her get back home, and it's about her journey and her relationships with these women. A sweeping novel about a correspondent trapped behind enemy lines during the Korean War and the women who help her find her way home, from the national best-selling author of Daughters of Shandong 1950. Alright, that's the title. 28-year-old Chinese-American journalist Ellie Chang is on a military flight to cover a battle in the mountains of North Korea when her plane is shot down. I'm just a broken record because obviously all the books on this list are books that I'm excited for and I want to read, but I'm looking forward to this one, and I think that it's a premise that I haven't really read before or ever really, I don't think I've ever heard a book written about a premise like this, so I am excited. Okay, alright, the next book is one that I am hoping will destroy me. This book also dropped on May 5th, and it is John of John by Douglas Stewart. If you watch my March reading wrap-up, then you will know that this man, Douglas Stewart, wrecked me. He hurt me so bad with his book, Shuggy Bane. That book hurt me so hard, it had me laying on my kitchen floor crying. I actually got the book in Korean for my mom to read because I was like, if I have to be in pain, someone else has to be in pain. Who better than my mother? I also have this other book, Young Mungo, here, and I'm going to be reading that this month. I think I'm going to wait until after I finish Young Mungo to pick up John of John, but unless I really like hate Young Mungo, I feel like I'm definitely going to want to read John of John. I don't know. I've been promised emotional devastation with Young Mungo, and I'm going at it at my own emotional peril. But listen, I love books that hurt me. I love to be moved. I love to be devastated, and I feel like John of John, based on the premise, is a book that might also hurt me. So John of John follows the main character, John, shocker, who returns to his home in this remote part of Scotland and reconnects with his dad, also named John. John's dad, John Sr., he is very religious, but unbeknownst to the both of them, they are both gay and are both struggling with, like, grappling with their sexuality, and end up having a lot of tension between the two of them, I guess because they don't realize, or I'm not exactly sure what the relationship is or how that's structured, but it sounds like a very complicated relationship between John and his father, who are both gay but don't know that the other is also gay. Douglas Stewart, based on the one book that I've read by him, is an author. It's really interesting because his writing style is not my preferred writing style. He has a pretty stripped down, straightforward, not very lyrical writing style, but the characters he crafts and the relationships he builds between them, and just how much he makes you care for these very complicated and flawed people. I'm ready, and honestly, even if I don't like Young Mungo, I'll probably end up picking this up anyway. Now we're jumping forward in the calendar a bit to books that have not released yet. So all the books I've talked about until now, they're available. You can go get them. These are books that I am waiting for with bated breath. These books all just sound so incredible, and the second they are available, I will just be devouring them. The first of the books that I haven't dropped yet is by an author that I've never heard of, and I just saw this book pop up on some sort of list somewhere, and I was like, you know, I haven't read a book about a dog in a while. That is Etna by Paul Yoon. This is dropping on August 4th. Etna is a fictional story about an ex-military dog who is trying to get home, or is on their way home after a war, and I don't really know a whole lot about the premise other than that. Like, I don't know if it's like a homeward bound type situation, or if it's written from the dog's point of view, or if it's a person with the dog. I don't really know very much about it, but I know that if there is a dog or a cat or any sort of animal in a story going through any amount of hardship, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. I have such a clear, vivid memory of the hardest I've ever cried over a book. Like, if you want to know, I can tell you with absolute complete surety that the time that I cried the hardest was in high school. Was in high school during lunch period when I was reading Marley and Me. I was eating my lunch like a cute little high schooler with my friends at the table, and I got to the part in Marley and Me when Marley is old and they have to put him to sleep. And I was unwell. I put my head down on that table next to my Caesar wrap and was a broken shell of a person. And I remember the people around me, my friends at the table, just being like, you know, Black Beauty, the Thoroughbred series, the Black Stallion, Misty of Shinkotig, just all of those books, anything with an animal, Charlotte's Web, whatever, I don't care. It's going to make me emotional. I'm cheap. It's easy. Just put an animal in a book and make them go through something. You got me. So yeah, August 4th, it's gonna be me, Etna, and my tears. Dropping on September 22nd is one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is Our Cut of Salt by Dina Helm. This is another one that I mentioned in another video at some point, and this is another debut novel, and and this is a horror story set in Palestine. This book follows 3 generations of Palestinian women who are being haunted in their family ancestral home in Haifa, and the whole story is supposed to be this big extended metaphor for the trauma of occupation, of displacement, of the trauma that the Palestinian people have and are currently going through. The story follows granddaughter Marina. She visits the house after her grandmother Nahud's death, uncovering buried family history and confronting a supernatural presence linked to the Nakba. It's praised as a lyrical, timely, and visceral exploration of history and survival. I can't wait for this book. I love historical horror, or I don't know if it's historical horror, but I love horror that incorporates real world issues and real world traumas and talks about them or navigates them through a supernatural lens. It's something like Ring Shao or The Reformatory or Bat Eater and other names for Khorasan. All of those have that sort of element where they are anchored in real life issues or real life events and historical events, but they talk about them through the lens of this horror story. So I love that shit. So I am just primed and ready to devour Our Cut of Salt. Okay, the next book. I know I've said that I'm excited for all of these books, and it's true. I'm excited for all of these books, but this one I feel like I've been waiting for news from this author for so long, for several years, many years. And so when I heard the news that they were dropping this title, I nearly peed myself. Dropping on September 29th is Mestra by Madeline Miller. This is going to be a short story, and I know that there are people who were really upset or disappointed that the news was for a short story and not a full-length novel. I know a lot of people have been waiting for her retelling of Persephone, but listen, I will take anything. I will take anything that she is publishing, and she has had a bunch of health issues that have made it hard for her to finish her work. So, you know, I'm just like, whatever you can give me, I'm going to read. A new short story from the New York Times bestselling author Madeline Miller that vibrantly reimagines the powerful and forgotten myth of Mestra. Mestra is the daughter of the king of Thessaly who is granted the power to shapeshift by Poseidon to deal with the familial curse of endless hunger. I don't know what else to say. If you've watched the vlog of me rereading Circe and Song of Achilles, which I posted last week, then you know that Madeline Miller is probably my favorite author just in terms of writing style. I love her prose, I love her lyricism, I love her power, I love her restraint, I love her ability to craft characters. I love everything about the way she writes. So whether it is a short story, a novella, a full novel, a grocery list, a to-do list, I'm going to read it. So Mestra, September 29th. Another book dropping on September 29th is American Hagwon by Minjin Lee. Minjin Lee is the author of another one of my favorite books, Pachinko, which I talked about in another wrap-up recently. And she's another author who's kind of like Douglas Stewart, where I don't really love her writing style necessarily. She has a very stoic, almost clinical, very straightforward, unemotional writing style, but the story that she weaved in Pachinko, it was just so resonant and it hit me on so many different levels. I love that book a lot. So I'm definitely looking forward to American Hagwon. This book is about the Ko family, who are a Korean family, as they navigate betrayal, the 1997 Asian financial crisis, and immigration from Seoul to Sydney and California, exploring themes of ambition, sacrifice, and the intense pressure of the Korean education system. This epic family saga delves into class, gender, faith, and the search for meaning and success in a changing world. Alright, the last book that I'm going to talk about is releasing in October of 2026, I'm pretty sure. I couldn't find an exact release date, and I don't know if I just didn't see it or if they haven't determined a specific date yet, but October 2026, and this is a release by another one of my favorite authors, favorite authors. That book is As You Wake, Break the Shell by Becky Chambers. I'm not even sure, the last time I looked, I couldn't find a teaser cover or a cover for this, so I don't know if there will be one by the time I'm putting out this video, but I'll look, and if there is, I'll put it here. But Becky Chambers is my favorite sci-fi author. She is the author of the Wayfarer series right here. She is the author of, it's the Monk and the Robot duology. It's Psalm for the Wild Built and Prayer for the Crown Shy. And she also wrote To Be Taught If Fortunate. I'm reading the Monk and the Robot duology this month, but I haven't read To Be Taught If Fortunate yet, but I will soon. I was actually saving those books because I love her Wayfarer series so much. I was hoping to just save them so I would have something to look forward to, but now that I know that she has a new release coming, I'm going to devour those. I don't know if anyone else is like that, where they're really precious with a book if they know that they don't have anything else by the author to read. I'm like that with Becky Chambers, and I'm also like that with N.K. Jemisin, where I've just been putting off what is it, the Broken Earth trilogy, because I've read all of her other books and I just love her so much that I need something to look forward to, so I just keep holding off on it. But that's a tangent, that's a tangent. As You Wake, Break the Shell is going to be another sci-fi. It's a space sci-fi. It's a space story, it's a love story. It's told, I think, between two different characters, two different point of views that are at different points in time, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm also pretty positive this is a queer love story between two main characters, Signy and Cora. Actually, I'm just going to read you what it's about. Becky Chambers herself wrote, written through the eyes of two different characters across two different timelines and two very different worlds, As You Wake is in equal parts a space story and a love story. It was both challenging and liberating for me to write, and I hope you'll enjoy coming along with me for the ride. I will. I know I will. Through a love story centered around survival, we are given a glimpse into the very best of what Becky Chambers does in her writing. Explore what it means to be human and what it means to come together. So these two characters live in different times and different worlds, so I don't really know how the love story happens. I'm very curious. One of the characters is named Signy, and she is a botanist who makes, like, she bioprints medicine, I think it's described. She bioprints medicine from her plants, and she is someone who cares very much about the downtrodden, those who aren't helped by the system, and so she uses her plants to make medicine for them, and she's kind of trying to just like help her community without getting herself arrested or in trouble. And the other character is Cora, who is a pilot of these massive like living ships. I think so they're called rorquals, which are like whales in real life. So I think that they are these massive spaceships that are living and kind of look like whales, something like that. So she is a pilot of one of these whale ships, and she has a really special bond with her ship, her whale, her rorqual, and there is some danger to that. Like I think it's described as like her greatest gift, but also a big threat. But it's also very, very exciting to me is that this book is the first in a duology. It's not just a standalone, it's a duology, and I'm so excited because that means that there is more to come from Becky Chambers. Now, I tend to be someone who doesn't like to read unfinished series, or I don't like to read series as the books drop. I very much prefer binging a whole series once all of the books are available, partially because I like to binge. I like to just like deep dive and throw myself into a world and just be like neck deep into it, refusing to surface for air until the entire series is over. But also I read a lot of books, so if I read a book 1 year but I have to wait like 2-3 years until the next book comes out, it is very likely that I have forgotten a lot of that book by the time it comes out, so I'd have to reread it anyway, you know what I mean? But I don't care about that for some authors, and Becky Chambers is definitely one of them. I'm going to be throwing myself through the bookstore doors as soon as this book is available to me. I just can't wait. I love Becky Chambers' writing. She writes with so much heart and tenderness, and she really asks people to investigate what it means to be human, what it means to connect with each other, what it means to be kind and compassionate. There's so much heart in her books. And based on this description, this is going to be no different. So her books they're books that I think are very good for the soul, good for the soul, good for the heart, good for the mind. And I think that if you ever need a reminder of what it means to be a person and what it means to be in community, her books are a great place to go. So yes, As You Wake, Break the Shell, I want it now. And with that, those are all the books that I'm going to talk about today. These are the 2026 releases that I am most excited for. Obviously, there are others. There are like dozens upon hundreds of other books that are releasing in the year that I will probably want to read or end up reading, but these are just the ones that are pinging my radar at like the highest frequency. They're either books that are by authors that I already know I love, or they're books that are debuts or have premises that I haven't really encountered before and I'm really excited for. You get it. But of course, I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for other books that are releasing, and if I end up accumulating a list long enough of other books that are going to be dropping in the second half of 2026, then maybe I'll come back and do a part 2 of this. If you have read any of the books I talked about that have already dropped and you have any feelings, then let me know what you thought, because yeah, like I'm excited for all of them, but maybe depending on reviews, I will bump some of them up or down on my TBR. This weekend, I'm actually doing a book crawl with a couple of friends, and I think we're gonna hit like almost 10 bookstores over the course of 2 days. Is it more than 10? I'm not sure. We're hitting a bunch of bookstores, so maybe I can try to pick up a couple of the books that I mentioned that have dropped that I don't have purchased yet. I think that's John of John and The Young Will Remember by Eve Chung. We'll see. Maybe I'll buy those. I'll try to be good. I don't want to end up with 1,000 books from all of these bookstores, but I'm not that strong. All right, well, thank you again to the 10,000 of you who are subscribed to this channel. It is just still so bizarre to me that anyone would be interested or willing to listening to me talk about books. I'm just like sitting in my living room yapping into space. So it's just a weird thing to think about, that people enjoy, hopefully, are here because you enjoy listening to me talk. But again, I appreciate all of you. I'm having such a great time and I'm glad that you're all here. So as always, happy reading to all of you. I will see you in the next one. Bye. This book takes place.